name is Maddie or Books with Maddie, and today I'm showing you all the books that I read in January. Okay, so this is obviously a bit late. I have been so busy with school, that is why there has been a total lack of uploads, but I'm hoping to get back into the swing of things now that I'm kind of adjusted to school and stuff. So hopefully in March I will do a lot better job of uploading more frequently and having more videos out, because I really went hard in January and then totally fell off the internet in February. So we're gonna try to have a more consistent upload schedule come March, and it's gonna be great. Other than that, I'm just going to get right into my January wrap up. I have some books that I'm really excited to talk about, but first I'll talk about the books that I didn't read that were from my deck of TBR picks. The two that I wasn't able to read were After Garden by Kristen Hanna and After Love. Did I just call it After Garden? I'm gonna say Winter Garden. Did I say that? I meant Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna and After Love by Tanya Byrne. These two I was supposed to read this month for Deck of TBR, and I just did not get around to them. They're two that I really hope to get to in the future, and they were both ones that I was really excited about, but I just did not get the chance to get to them, and so they will not be on my rankings this month. I'm very sad, but it's fine. Other than that, the rest of them I read. I read 7 total books this month. We have 1 5-star read. Super hype about that, but other than that, we'll just get right into the things that I read in January. I don't know why. I haven't filmed in a while, so I'm feeling really awkward in front of the camera. I'm like, how do I do this? Okay, I'm ready to go. Okay. So first I'm going to talk about an arc that I read. Actually, this was not for Deck of TBR. It was just an arc that I received. It came out February 1st, so I was trying to rush and read it in January, and that is Lockdown on London Lane by Beth Reekles. This, if you watched my most anticipated books of 2022, then you know that this was on that list, and I was so happy to receive an arc from the publisher. Even after learning that Beth Reekles is the author of The Kissing Booth, that definitely changed my perceptions of this book when I started reading it, but I really tried to keep an open mind. Unfortunately, this book really did not do it for me. I ended up giving it 2 stars. The concept of this book, if you aren't aware, is basically it's an apartment building. It gets quarantined and shut down for a week because someone in the building has tested positive for COVID and they don't want to continue the spread, so they lock down the whole building. No one is allowed to come in, no one is allowed to go out. It follows a couple different narratives. Let's see if I can remember them. So one of them is a bridesmaids party. They're doing some preparation for a wedding, and one of the characters whose apartment it is the maid of honor, and so the bride and the rest of the bridesmaids are staying at her house for the weekend, but they end up getting trapped there for the week. Another narrative is a couple, Serena and I can't remember the guy's name, but they are a couple who's been living together for a couple years now. I think they're in a 4-year relationship, and they are stuck together for a week, and they just start examining all of the kind of holes in their relationship that they haven't brought up because, they can escape. And now without the escape, they're bringing up all of this stuff in their relationship. Number 3. What are the other ones? Oh, okay, a girl, her name is, I feel like it starts with a vowel. I can't remember her name. She goes on, crap, okay, I'm gonna look up these names because it's really gonna bother me. Okay, so we have Zach and Serena, 4-year relationship. Liv is the girl who is the bridesmaids party. And then we have Ethan and Charlotte, who are a couple. I'm gonna adjust my camera. I feel like it's weird angle. Is it? No, it's fine. So we have Ethan and Charlotte, who are a couple who have been living together. I believe they've only been dating for a year or so, and they decide to move in together. But Charlotte gets locked out because she's I think she's running an errand or something. And then when she gets back, the apartment building is shut down, and so they have to spend a week apart, and it's really hard for them. And then there's a resolve kind of at the end for them. Then we have Isla and Danny, who are a new couple, and Danny is staying the weekend at Isla's house, but then the lockdown happens, and they're oh my gosh, we have to live together even though we're a new couple, and they're awkward stage of a relationship where they're still trying to impress each other and be perfect around each other. Conflict ensues. And lastly, we have Imogen and Nate, who Imogen is at Nate's house for a one-night stand, and then she tries to leave in the morning and she can't. Okay, we've got all of them. So I think one of the biggest things about this book is it's so ambitious to have that many characters, that many scenarios, and I think Beth Reekles actually does a pretty decent job pulling off that many narratives. There were definitely certain ones that I found more interesting than others, and certain ones, like, there are four stories that are really similar. Like the one night stand, the 4-year relationship, the new relationship, and then, wait, what am I forgetting? You see how this could be confusing? I'm just saying a lot of them started to blend together, and especially when you have very classic names like Danny, Zach, Ethan. Was there Ethan? Was one of them Ethan? Ethan! Yeah, Ethan, Zach, Danny, Nate. All of those names are the same to me. All of those names are exactly the same. There is no distinct difference between those names to me. They're classic white man names, and they all blended together. They were all, I feel like, reasonably tall, white men with brown, messy hair. Like, I feel like they were all just described the exact same way. Same personality, pretty much. And then the same thing with Isla and Imogen. Just don't have two characters start with the same letter. I feel like that's something that I felt like is a pretty clear thing for authors, especially when you're introducing a large cast of characters in this kind of quick way. It is really important not to make characters start with the same letter, because a lot of times I will like associate the first letter like with that character, and I'm like, okay, I know this character starts with this letter. Like, it's just much easier when there's two characters, especially an I, like, that's a no-go for me. The biggest problem for me with this book is the pop culture references. I think this is a big issue that people feel very strongly about. Don't include pop culture references in books, especially like this, because the amount of times Twitch and Fortnite and Instagram and blogging and all of that stuff was mentioned, it just really frustrated me. I don't know why. One of the characters was a Twitch streamer, which, like, I guess is like, you know, that's a thing now, but it's just a bit cringy, and so I didn't really love that. In addition, like, a lot of the characters had some like weird connection to each other. It was like they were all supposed to be like connected, and it was supposed to be like, whoa, they're all connected. I didn't care about that at all. It was very confusing. They were all like connected, but like in different degrees to each other, and I was like, I don't know that this is super necessary. It's just kind of adding to the confusion of there being so many characters. And that wasn't even all the characters, because some of them had like fiancés and like partners outside, and then they had siblings, and then there was the bridesmaids, and there was more people, and it was many freaking characters, and I could not keep track. I mean, this is like I feel like a polarizing topic to have a book about. COVID already. I've been kind of expecting a bunch of COVID romances to appear, and I think this is a really great idea. It kind of takes a less doom-oriented approach to COVID and talks about the ways that it brought people together, which is, I think, one of the really positive things that we can focus on about COVID, and so I really liked how it did that. It didn't really focus on death, doom, anything like that, if that's what you're worried about being triggered. It really did have a positive glow on COVID, which I feel like can be appreciated. I just think that this whole concept as a book was not executed super well. I just think that the character development was really weak, and I'm gonna move on now. Okay, I hate saying mean things to authors. I'm so sorry. I don't think Beth Reekles is gonna watch this, so I think I'm in the clear. Okay, we're gonna talk about the two other books that I did not read for Deck of TBR, and then we will get into the Deck of TBR books. The first one is, I guess I can hold up the books. I always forget I have that ability. One Day in December by Josie Silva. Silver. I don't know why I said Silva. This is a book that I started in December. It was supposed to be a book that I read for my book club in December, in one day in December. It didn't happen, mostly because some people in my book club realized that there was going to be cheating in this book, and really did not want to read that. Don't blame them at all. Super fair point. I was like, I bought the book, I'm gonna read it. I hated it. I mean, I didn't hate it. I gave it 2.5 stars. By the way, disclaimer, first wrap of the year, I'm using half stars this year, and Goodreads can't stop me. In my Goodreads, it'll be whatever I feel if it's closer. I think I have it in Goodreads as 2, but I'm using half stars. Okay, so this follows a lot of characters, but mainly we have Lori, who one day is on a bus, and looks out the window and sees a man, this man, whose name is Jack. They don't know that at the point. They look at each other, there's like a freaking major connection, but then the bus leaves, they don't get to see each other. And a year passes, she's searching for this man. One day, her best friend and her roommate, Sarah, is like, I'd like to introduce you to my boyfriend, Jack, who is the guy who she saw at the bus stop. They recognize each other, they're like, whoa, but they don't say anything to each other, they don't say anything to Sarah until like a couple years later. I believe this book takes place over like 10 years of friendship. I hate that concept, I'm gonna be honest. I don't like the concept of books taking place over 10 years, like this unrequited love, and then love triangle, and like, she can't have you, I can't have you, he can't have you. It's just exhausting. There was cheating in this. It's not like sex cheating, it's like kissing cheating, emotional cheating, still cheating. A lot of people love this book, so I'm hesitant to say just to write it off, but it took me such a long time to get through. I started it in December and finished it in the first week of January, I think. It was just so arduous to get through. The writing style is so slow-paced, so detailed. It really isn't like a fast, cute rom-com type of situation. It's more of a tome cataloging 10 years of these people's lives and the drama that happens, which there's not even a lot of exciting drama. So do with that what you will. The other book that I read, which was not for Deck of TBR, was The Roommate by Rosie Danan, I believe. I'll put a picture here because I read this as an ebook from my library. This is a book that was like kind of blowing up on TikTok. I think it's been recommended on TikTok for a while, but I really saw a lot of hype for it in the past couple months, and so I decided, instead of being a responsible person reading what I was supposed to read for my TBR, I would read The Roommate. So this book follows two characters. What are their names? Like, I read a book, immediately gone. You know what I mean? Immediately there's nothing left of that book in my brain. Clara and Josh. Okay, Clara and Josh. So Clara's best friend, whose name doesn't say. I'm gonna say Bob. I don't remember his name. Let's say Bob. She moves across the country from New York to California to live with her best friend, Bob, who she's secretly in love with. He's not in love with her, but she wants him to be, so she decides she's gonna move across the country, new start, go to LA. But when she gets to LA, Bob, that's not his real name, picks her up at the airport and says, just so you know, I'm about to go on tour with my band. And she's like, hey, thought you were going to be here, thought you were going to show me around, thought I wasn't going to be completely abandoned in LA. He's like, really sorry about that, totally told you that that's what I was going to do, but I'm totally not doing that. I'm dropping you off at my house. By the way, I rented out my room to a strange man that I don't know, you don't know, he seems great, he's going to be living in a house with you. And she's like, what? So basically, he drops her off at the house. She goes into the house and sees Josh, who is the roommate, the person that Bob rented out the room to. She's like, please don't murder me and we'll be fine. So that's pretty much the premise of the story. I think what makes this book so freaking unique, which I really loved, I gave this book 3.5 stars, by the way. I don't know if I said that already, is I think it's a very classic love story. It's kind of like opposites attract. Clara is very studious, a little bit uptight. She comes from a rich family. Josh is a porn star, actually, which is a lot. I mean, it's like I never read anything like that, you know? But the way that it discusses the tribulations of the industry and the way that it dehumanizes people and the way that it can work to humanize people and legitimize sex work as a job is a really interesting commentary. There's a lot of body positivity. I honestly think that I would have preferred this book to be a contemporary and not a romance, simply about sex work and the way that the sex industry functions and the way that it can be shifted and changed to humanize individuals instead of continually dehumanizing them. It also focuses a lot on talking about the importance of women's pleasure and equal partner pleasure and things like that. I think it had a lot of interesting commentary on that and a lot of body positivity stuff going on. I really enjoyed that aspect. I found the romance to be really tropey. The characters weren't super unique, and so that's why I gave it 3.5. it was above average in its like social commentary aspect, but below average with the romance and the characters. Sorry. Okay. That's all I read for non-deck of TBR. Now we're going to get into deck of TBR books. So I read 4 of them. Here is what they are. So the 4 books that I read, I'm going to tell you what I read first, and then I'll go into more detail about each of them. I read The Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys, The Water Cure by Sophie McIntosh, and then Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. That wasn't the last one. I don't know why I made it sound like it was. And King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. First, we'll talk about The Water Cure by Sophie McIntosh. This is 5-star book. The only 5-star book, I believe, yes, that I read this month. Totally unexpected, totally out of left field, 5-star book. I bought this without knowing any... I have just realized there was a very cool indentation pattern on the front of it. How did I read this book. How did I not notice this? I bought this book without hearing anything about it. I found it on Book Outlet, and it's described as like this feminist dystopian novel. Or I think it's like a revenge feminist. Yeah. Fiercely poetic feminist revenge fantasy. That's like everything that I look for in a book. Basically, it follows 3 sisters. Now, I'm totally gonna remember these names. Sky. Livy? Something like that. And something with a vowel. Grace, Leah, and Sky. Okay, no vowels. Livy was close with Leah, and Grace not even close. Grace, Leah, and Sky. Okay, so basically they grow up on this isolated island with their mother and their father, who's named King, and their parents like enact all of these different, basically, forms of torture, but under the guise of making them like into stronger women who can like survive this like outside world experience, or like can be prepared for the outside world. Basically, they say like if my dog is being so weird right now. If they go into the outside world, it's just too toxic, it's too horrible, and they'll like immediately die. And so they do things like force the sisters to like kill like mice and rabbits and stuff, or like burn themselves, or like sandpaper themselves, put their heads underwater, stuff like that. It's really horrible. Actually, to read about. There isn't like a lot of gruesome detail, if that's what you're worried about. It's not, there's like specific moments where it's like pretty harsh, but a lot of the times it's not too gruesome. Basically, one day King, who's their father, disappears, and their mother tells them that he's dead and everything, and so they have to start surviving, just 3 sisters and the mother. One day, 3 men come to the shore of their island, 2 brothers and then one of the brothers' sons, so it's like 2 maybe like 30-year-old men, and then maybe like a 10-ish-year-old boy, and they, you know, come to the shore. They're like, we need help, we need some shelter. That's basically the crux of the conflict. I won't say any more because that would be giving way too much. I loved this so much. The writing style is everything ever. Like, it's so good. I want to read everything Sophie McIntosh has ever written. It's so poetic, it's so beautiful, it's so immersive, and I think it's like every once in a while you'll come across an author who's like, this person just naturally has a talent for making, for creating, for writing, for language, and Sophie McIntosh absolutely has that gift. I would be very curious if anybody has read this book to hear your opinions about it, because it can be a very polarizing read. I absolutely loved it, like I said. If you do read it and then you have thoughts about it, like tag me, at me, tell me what they are, because I really want more people to read this, because I think it's absolutely phenomenal and well written, and the characters are incredible, and I love literally everything about it, and I highly recommend it. Okay, next we'll talk about Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I was going to try to read this one, but then I ended up listening to it as an audiobook. Y'all know thrillers aren't really something that I pick up a lot. My cousin really loved this thriller and encouraged me to pick it up, so I did, obviously, but then I just ended up listening to the audiobook, like I said. It was thrilling enough to keep me, you know, keep my attention for a day. You know, I listened to it the whole day, so it, you know, thoroughly kept my attention. I don't think it would have done the same if I was reading it. I think the only reason I was engrossed in it is because I could be doing other things while I was listening to it. It felt a little bit like a Gone Girl ripoff. Basically, I forgot to say the plot. The plot of the book is there's a woman who wakes up in a hospital, but she can't move, she can't speak, she can't open her eyes. She's in a coma, but is conscious of everything that is happening to her, everything that's going on around her she can hear, and she's trying to kind of figure out what happened based off of these contexts, and it alternates between the past and the present and just trying to kind of figure out what happened to her. I don't know how I felt. I gave it three stars. It was okay. I feel like they kept trying to make like really shocking twists, like plot twists and stuff, and like little plot twists kept happening here and there, but I didn't think that they were actually that shocking. It felt like they were trying to be like, whoa, no way this is happening, and I was just like, that's like not that shocking that that happened. There was like one actual big plot twist that I thought was really unique and really well done. Other than that, everything else felt a little bit cheap. And then the ending I felt like was super rushed. I find this happens a lot in thrillers, and it's one of the main reasons I don't like them is I felt they were trying to tie up a lot of loose ends really quickly and really like efficiently in multiple ways, and it just felt a little bit sloppy. It felt a little bit rushed, and I didn't love that, and so I only gave it 3 stars. Okay, next we'll talk about Why'd Sargasso Sea by Jean Rhys. I don't have a ton to say about this. This is I feel like it's considered a classic now. It is a retelling of Jane Eyre, but the prequel. So this is the prequel to Jane Eyre, but it's not really like official because Charlotte Bronte didn't write it. Jean Rhys did. It's about Bertha Mason, who is the... I'm about to spoil Jane Eyre, but I feel like at this point, you know, it's fair to spoil it. The Mr. Rochester's first wife, Bertha Mason, and the woman in the attic, it's about her and how she meets Mr. Rochester, how they get married, and then her trip to England and what ensues after that. I found the first half of this book to be a little bit arduous to get through, and then the second half I really liked when it started to become more recognizably attached to Jane Eyre. I gave it 4 stars, I believe. It's something that I've wanted to read for a while. Jane Eyre is one of my favorite books of all time, and I love all of the commentary and discussion around it, and I feel like this book has become a really big piece of that commentary around Jane Eyre, and so I was really excited to read it and kind of have access to that side of the commentary. And I think Jean Rhys did a really amazing job of, you know, capturing the, I'm just gonna ignore my dogs, capturing this other facet of Jane Eyre, of the colonialism and the racism and all of that. I think it was really well displayed in this novel. Lastly, we're gonna talk about the love of my life, Leigh Bardugo and King of Scars. This has been a long time coming that I have read King of Scars. Don't know why it took me so long to get to. I think it was one of those things where it's like, I know once I read it, I will have less, oh my gosh! Every time I film, I knew that once I read it, I will have less Leigh Bardugo books to read, and at this point, Rule of Wolves is the last one that I have to hold on to, and so I'm really terrified about that. Where is the second 9th house book, Leigh Bardugo? So I finally read King of Scars. I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think it's hard to rate Leigh Bardugo books at this point because we have books like Crooked Kingdom and 9th House, and it's like, where do you go from there? Like, not every book can quite fit to that standard, so that's why I gave this 4.5. It was amazing, and I loved every single second of it, but it wasn't Crooked Kingdom, and it wasn't 9th House. So if you're unaware, this book takes place after the Six of Crows duology, so Six of Crows, Crooked Kingdom, and then comes King of Scars. I'm not going to say too much about it because I don't know how much people want to know about it if you're like just starting out in the Grishaverse, like I don't know, but I know I'll say this oh my gosh, words. This book mainly follows Nikolai and Zoya and then some other familiar characters who I won't mention just in case that's a spoiler. I don't think so, but just in case. And it basically follows the aftermath of the Ravkan Civil War and Nikolai trying to kind of repair the country, and it ends on a massive cliffhanger that is like amazing and terrifying and blew my actual mind, and I'm really excited to read Rule of Wolves. I'm hoping I can fend off that need a little bit longer so I can say that I still have Leigh Bardugo. Like, I'm not, like, I've read all the short stories, I've read everything possibly that I could from Leigh Bardugo, and like nothing is being announced. Like, there's no new, I literally watched, I watched Shadow and Bone. I hadn't watched that yet. I know that's also shocking, but I watched all of season 1 in like a day. Yeah, a day. Those are all the books that I read. Oh, I have to rank them, but just those 4. Okay, so in my deck of TBR, the way that I had these 4 ranked was like this, not including the other ones. So Sometimes I Lie on the bottom, then The Water Cure, then Wide Sargasso Sea, then King of Scars. This is a little bit inaccurate. So how I would rank them now is, I was right about Sometimes I Lie. Thrillers are just not for me. It's nothing personal about this book. I just don't love thrillers and mysteries. Then I would have to put Wide Sargasso Sea, even though I did give it 4 stars. We had some big competition. Leigh Bardugo comes next. Leigh Bardugo isn't on the top. I know that's super surprising, but only because this was 4.5 stars and The Water Cure was 5 stars. So this is the final ranking. Sometimes I Lie, Wide Sargasso Sea, King of Scars, and then The Water Cure on top. Definitely unexpected. I believe this was second last when I originally ranked it, and so that is definitely something that I didn't really see coming, and something that I'm very excited about. I love being surprised with books. Other than that, that is the end of this video. I know January was a while ago, but let me know what you read in January. Let me know if you've read any of these, especially The Water Cure, because I'm really curious to hear other people's thoughts about that. Love to have a discussion about it. Other than that, I will see you soon because I'm gonna be making more videos. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week, and I hope you have a great life, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.